Chasa, welcome to beautiful Greece. Yes, and it doesn't happen too often that Germany wins the Football World Cup, that we witness the election of a new pope, or that Volkswagen introduces a completely new transporter model to the market. Today, I'm thrilled to present to you the all-new generation of the legendary Volkswagen Bulli. Following over 20 years of manufacturing the transporter, including models such as the T5, T6 and T61, a successor has at last emerged, expanding the Bulli family to its largest size in history. You have the all-electric ID.Buzz, you have the T7. As a people mover and as the multivan, and now, optionally, you can also get the new transporter generation, available as a panel van. You get it as a station wagon, you get it as a pickup with a double cab, you get it as a Caravelle. Yes, and with that, it's truly endlessly versatile. However, Volkswagen is building this model for the first time no longer in Hanover. After 75 years, it's now coming to an end. It's being produced here, behind the mountains in Turkey. We're actually in Greece today, and we can now drive it here exclusively for you. Let me show it to you in detail. Yes, and it starts right with the front. As standard, there are now the typical Volkswagen headlights here. Yes, they've got the typical Bulli headlight shape, and this here is the base headlight with the LED daytime running lights. But of course, you can also get the Matrix headlight, the IQ light system, which features dynamic cornering functionality and a significantly more modern and stylish headlight design overall. Overall, the front is actually quite typical VW bus. You have to adjust a bit due to this collaboration with Ford, particularly when it comes to the sheet metal parts and the overall design approach taken. You can still spot the Ford DNA in certain spots. They really tried to tone it down quite a bit. Most noticeable, of course, is the redesign of the front. We have a new hood. We, of course, have a new bumper, though I'm not entirely sure why they decided to make the Volkswagen logo so small. I think it would look much cooler if it were this big here. I'm trying to figure it out, folks. Were they embarrassed? Normally the logos were always huge, so this definitely doesn't sit well with me. It's just too small for my taste. We have a chrome strip here, but no illuminated grille. However, there's a camera up front for the 360-degree system, including a cleaning mechanism, and you can get it not only with a combustion engine, the good old diesel, but also as a fully electric version, which we have right here. This is the e-Caravelle. It's charged from the front right through the nose, so a nose loader. Charging capacity of up to 125 kilowatts. That's relatively low, but I think for the intended use of these vehicles, it's completely sufficient. After all, they're not designed for blasting down the Autobahn at 180 with that range. The e-Caravelle's electric range is about 350 kilometers, but in daily use, it's closer to 250 kilometers. A painted bumper, of course, is only available on the higher-priced models. The transporters still come with a black-ribbed bumper. Yes, on these larger models, the front end, of course, they all look pretty much identical. Here, with our painted trim, it actually looks quite nice. As diverse as the body variants are, so are the drive systems. In addition to the inline electric drive, you also get a plug-in hybrid, and you'll have diesel engines as well. Ford provides these options with a 6-speed manual and an 8-speed automatic transmission. But this supply of engines from Ford doesn't have to be a bad thing, because VW, the Bulli engines haven't exactly proven themselves to be particularly reliable in the past. The collaboration with Ford is apparent at first glance. I mean, where on a Volkswagen have we ever seen 6-hole rims? Yeah, that's pretty much Ford's technology adopted here one-to-one. You could argue about the rim design though. For a van, I think it's okay. But for a Caravelle like the one standing here, which ends up costing almost 77,000 euros, it could be a bit cooler. Yes, and above all, guys, this is a family car. A 10-inch wheel. The sheet metal parts are mostly new, but what hasn't been redone, I just don't get it, because it's really an essential design element. The mirrors. I've really got this typical Ford bulge here. I've got this classic Ford Transit custom mirror style and shape. I don't like it at all at first glance. They could have invested a bit more effort here, even though it's genuinely super practical on the other side, particularly with this wide angle section positioned down here. They should also add it to other models. I think it would be really cool, for example, on the ID bus and the T7 multivan. It's extremely practical. That makes it much easier. That could have been stolen. Yeah, and of course, this camera here could have been installed more elegantly. For the 360-degree all-around view, it doesn't really look all that nice. Definitely super practical to avoid stone chips here in the sill area. This little splash guard, but it's honestly pretty ugly. That would definitely be the first thing I'd take off and just apply a stone chip protection film here, and that's it. Even in the pure EV version, the fuel flap is still present. Those who opt for the combustion engine version get a 55-liter tank as standard. Optionally, you can upgrade to a 70-liter tank depending on the engine configuration and selected equipment options. Super practical, of course, 2 sliding doors, one on the right, one on the left. What you won't find here is the automatic sliding door. We only have a manual closing assist here. The display windows can also be optionally ordered for either the right or left side. They are available in 2 different lengths. One with 5.05 meters, and now as we are standing here with the longer wheelbase of 3.50 meters, with a total length of 5.45 meters. Relatively short overhangs at the front and rear, combined with the large wheelbase, offer plenty of space in the interior. The e-Caravelle is powered by an electric motor that's located on the rear axle. You have absolutely no compromise in terms of interior space because of this. Yes, power up to 210 kilowatts is available here, no problem. There will be an all-wheel version, but it will also only deliver 210 kilowatts. The power of the rear motor will just be reduced a bit. This is because the battery in the underbody simply can't deliver that much energy. It's simply a standard 64 kilowatt battery, not built for high performance, but instead optimized for long distance efficiency. In this vehicle class, an electric tailgate is an absolute must-have feature. I didn't find it in the configurator just now, but honestly, you absolutely need it because this feature is a total game changer, no doubt about it. At the rear, they still aim to differentiate from the Ford. It doesn't quite succeed, especially when it comes to the taillights design. They've made an effort to push it further, shaping them in this distinctive C-form design. It actually looks quite nice, but the one on the Transporter, the normal continuous one, I like it much better. The trunk is absolutely enormous. Even with 3 full rows of seats, there's still an incredible amount of space back here, which is truly impressive. So you really have to say absolutely brilliant. If you have a van with slightly less side paneling, you can fit a Euro pallet width-wise in here and still have roughly 7 centimeters of clearance on both sides. How cool it is to have so much cargo space. It really shows when you're loading something in. With the combustion version, you can load up to 1.3 tons right here in the spacious back section. Even the electric version can handle 1,035 kilograms. That's due to the newly designed rear axle, which has a slightly different geometry and can therefore absorb much more force. And it especially offers real added value for tradespeople. A positive side effect of the collaboration with Ford is that the towing capacity now increases to 2.8 tons for the all-wheel drive combustion versions with the large diesel engine. And even with our e-Caravelle, you can still tow up to 2.3 tons, which is really good for an electric vehicle in this weight class. Personally, I'm actually bothered by a lot of little things in this VW Ford collaboration. Here in the wheel arch, for instance, you see the full wiring harness here. This is clearly visible here. It has been exposed to years of splash water in the wheel arch. Why not just extend this plastic wheel liner a bit further down, seal it off, and the issue would be solved. Welcome to the Fart Car. Yes, here you can truly witness the full synergy between Volkswagen and Ford, clearly and vividly showcased right before your eyes. Here, the turn signals and steering stalks, they're typical Ford. You won't find those in any other Volkswagen. For that, we have our classic steering wheel from the VW group, just as we know it. And we've genuinely come to appreciate and value it. Yes, the light switch is from Ford's parts bin. What's always standard is the 13-inch digital instrument cluster, though its layout could definitely be improved just a little bit more. It tilts backward like that. I think you can see that pretty well. It's a bit of a shame. It kind of feels like a bit of a letdown because, it ends up looking pretty awkward and a little bit silly while you're driving. We're sitting in a Caravelle, not in a multivan. That's why the hard plastics here on the dashboard are completely fine with me. Really practical. This second glove box up here, why it won't stay shut, I don't know. It's annoying. Doesn't matter, so what? For that, we've got another glove compartment down here. It's not quite as big, but you can store the most important things here quite well. A look at the key. It shall be granted to you. It is granted to you. Here we have our storage compartment for it. Only if you don't have a big keychain on it, so what's here then? Here we have, of course, a 13-inch digital display, but it somehow feels a bit larger, I'd say, to be honest. Maybe it's because of the bezel. In any case, we've got Fords software running here. You can already see it. This sort of thing doesn't exist in the VW group. It actually runs pretty smoothly. Here we have our heating control system in place. It works perfectly fine, though it can sometimes be a bit sensitive with the touch input. You either need to press firmly or it just responds to touch. You can see the calculation here. It's quick and fairly self-explanatory to use. The system depth isn't as extensive as you might typically expect from other vehicles out there. But instead, you can easily integrate Apple CarPlay or Android Auto into the car, saving yourself the additional expense of the navigation feature. The placement of the start button is somehow completely extravagant. Why they put it up here, I don't know. I've always pressed it like this right here. One floor down, we have a classic volume knob, which I think is great. Here also, these buttons that you can press, you can really quickly switch between your driving profiles. So you have a camera function for a 360-degree camera system here. And that's really cool. It works really well with Ford, especially when I take a closer look at all the details included here. I also have a really decent resolution and not just a dreadful, crappy image, which is often the case with some other Volkswagen cameras. Down one more floor, the parking brake. Yes, and down here we have another storage compartment with 2 cup holders. And when we move all the way down to the bottom, here we've got an inductive charging pad for your phone. It is optional though and costs extra. We have the cigarette lighter and we have USB and a USB-C port. 1,350 euros extra for this rear view mirror. So what does it offer? It features a dash cam function and a digital rear view camera that delivers an exceptionally clear, crisp and sharp image quality. A lot of cash, but definitely a nice feature. Especially if you drive a van and there's no rear window back there, this is just a super cool thing to have. The seat design is classic Volkswagen, something we've seen in their other models before. It looks great, it feels really great, the armrests are super practical, so for that I'd give a high score, though with a slight deduction. I'll tell you about it though when we drive. Access to the third row of seats is also incredibly straightforward and easy. The seats can be folded down or tilted forward really easily. Traditionally with the Caravelle, you can't slide the seats back and forth, it's just not an option. That's a bit of a shame. Still, the amount of space here works perfectly fine for me. No real complaints at all. Again, you'll naturally sit more comfortably in the second row. Here you have a little bit more space. We have roller blinds as standard on the doors. I'm sitting quite comfortably here, but I must point out, if you're a bit taller, you won't have much headroom left to spare at all. At my height of just under 1.68 meters, I'm sitting comfortably, but if you're 2 meters tall and sitting upright in here, the ceiling is actually quite lowered due to this ventilation structure here. For parents, it's incredibly practical. On the outer seats, we've got ISO-fix child seat attachments installed. Not only in the second row, but also in the third row. Did you hear that? Starting up here in our bully is genuinely a tough challenge, no doubt about it. You've really got to admit it, absolutely no question. I grabbed a panel van. Why did I do that? What was I even thinking at the time? Simple as that, I wanted to drive the diesel, how an electric Caravelle drives, how an electric car drives. We all know that by now. But honestly, if I buy a Caravelle, for me it might be the alternative to the multivan simply because the Caravelle is a bit more affordable. Yeah, and then it's my family car. With this family car, I also want to drive long distances. So what do I choose then? I choose the diesel. Yes, for one, it's almost 20,000 euros cheaper, and you've got the clear advantage in range. And the reason I climbed into this thing here today, into our sturdy panel van, because those were the only models during our test drive that still featured a diesel engine under the hood, you know? but you'll receive the new Transporter, fully fitted with a total of 3 diesel engine options. One comes with the smallest base engine, which has 81 kilowatts, then 110 kilowatts. And here I have the top version with 125 kilowatts, meaning 170 horsepower, maximum torque 390 Newton meters. Yeah, and when I step on it, it moves along pretty decently, but it's absolutely not by any means anything close to a race car at all. The engines can be matched with either a 6-speed manual gearbox or an 8-speed automatic transmission system. Both the manual and automatic transmissions come from the Ford Group. What driver assistance systems do I have on board? Yes, I basically have something like travel assist here in my car. I have the adaptive cruise control, which I had to purchase separately. It costs extra. I have the lane keeping assistant as a standard feature. And with the button on my steering wheel, I can combine both systems reasonably well. It's not as advanced as it would be in a multi-vendor setup, but it still works just fine. It keeps me in the lane, keeps me safe, yes, and it adjusts the distance to the car ahead. What must naturally be in place and what is extremely important is traffic sign recognition. We have that on board. You can already hear it chiming again. Of course, we also have this speed warning on board when I drive faster than the speed limit allows. Then there's this warning beep, which honestly becomes really irritating over time. I just can't figure out yet where to switch it off. I haven't found this feature yet, but in terms of driving comfort, I have to say it's really very well tuned and extremely comfortable to drive. Here on the relatively poor roads in Greece, it smooths things out really pleasantly. We took the Caravelle yesterday. It's designed to be a little more comfortable overall. In terms of engine sound and overall noise, I'd say our van has a bit less insulation compared to the Caravelle, but the engine, it does rumble. When I really step on the gas, it definitely makes itself heard acoustically. But it's nothing where I'd say I wouldn't want it, rather it's completely fine and acceptable for this type of vehicle in its class. The visibility, it's there as in every bully. You're truly sitting above the road, keeping everything in clear sight. The mirrors and pillars don't obstruct, even if they're quite hefty in the front. But it's really a comfortable ride, a pleasant drive, and the steering, it actually gives quite good feedback here. Of course, it's electromechanical, but it's not sporty, not overly tight, though it's perfectly sufficient to truly feel the road contact and stay connected while driving here. What really stands out in our van's 3-seat bench is the noticeable lack of a center armrest. I definitely want it for long trips. It'd make things just a bit more relaxed. What was a real drawback, and something I particularly noticed with the Caravelle, was the seat cushion. It was simply way too short for proper leg support. Here in this van, it feels just a bit longer and more comfortable. It feels a bit better. Honestly, I find myself sitting more comfortably in here than in the Caravelles. There are different driving modes in our model as well. I'm currently in the normal mode, so let me just switch to eco mode and see if, when I release the gas, it actually disengages the clutch. This feature was around for a while but isn't available now. He leaves the gear engaged, which I think is a bit of a shame. They just cut that feature out. In the engine and transmission combinations, Volkswagen has also incorporated its DNA. Yes, it does have this Ford engine, the Ford transmission, but it runs on a slightly different software. So the engine response combined with the transmission is much more oriented towards Volkswagen rather than Ford in terms of tuning and performance. In sport mode, the transmission shifts a bit more sporty. The gears are revved out a little higher. The steering, yes, the feedback becomes a bit tighter and more responsive, but that's about it. Otherwise, it provides me with quite solid feedback here. It's obvious we're not sitting in a Porsche 911, but for that, I think I can still handle the corners pretty smoothly and with a good amount of confidence. It's a very pleasant steering feel, not too tight, not too soft, so thumbs up for that. I'll brake firmly again. Yes, the pressure point is there, it's relatively soft. The pedal gives a little bit. Good brakes are important because here we have almost the total weight or a maximum load of a vehicle weight with a load of around 3 tons. If I then hook up my 2.8 ton trailer load again, I'm already pushing close to 6 tons in total. So because of that, you really need a proper sturdy large brake. We have those on board here. We have ventilated discs all around, so that should actually work just fine. Pong, there was a stone that flew out of the wheel well. It's a box tape, and that's why you hear a bit more noise coming from that area. that's all there is, our lap in the new VW Transporter. So where does the pricing actually begin? We start at 43,700 euros for the panel van as a TDI. And the top of the range, that's the e-Caravelle. If you fully equip it, you can get close to 80,000 euros. Whether that makes sense, I'll leave that question open for now and let you decide. At that point, you could just go for a multivan or an ID bus and end up with a completely different vehicle rather than something like this. Caravelle or a panel van? Yes, thank you for watching. I'd be happy if you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and tune in again for the next episode. Yes, I say thank you, ciao, and a fond farewell to the Transporter. So long, dear Caravelle.